What's up, guys? Welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna show you how to select HTML elements by their ID name. So it's called there's a couple ways, but the most basic way, the way that most people use it, is using the getElementById method, and we'll be going over that first. And then there's also another one that you can use called query selector. But yeah, so if you're learning JavaScript, you know HTML and CSS really well, and you know that when we're styling stuff with CSS, and even when you're just using plain old HTML, you can give elements ID names, and that's good for styling stuff with CSS, as you should know. But it's also goes over into the programming aspect with JavaScript, to where you can also use those IDs to manipulate them with JavaScript. Change elements, make them appear, create them, stuff like that. So this is what it's going to look like. This is just some example code. Document.getElementById, or here where they made an actual variable name and attached it to this method, document.getElementById. This is the way that I like to use for every time I grab onto something in the DOM. I like to put all of my stuff save them in variables. That's pretty much the best practice, and then access them later on. So this code right here, they put an element into a variable. They use document.getElementById. The ID name for the element that had an ID name of demo, and then they said my element, which is, they're saying, hey, the element that has the ID name of demo, change the color to red. So let's just look at their code. This is W3 Schools, guys. So look at here, ID. So they have the H1 here. It has an ID name of demo, so this should look really familiar. If this doesn't, guys, you really need to learn HTML and CSS. Shameless plug, I have free HTML and CSS full courses on this channel and playlists that you can go watch. But if you're just jumping straight into JavaScript and you don't even know what an ID is, that's a big problem. So please learn HTML and CSS first, because this is the juncture where, like, if you don't have a good understanding of those, this is going to be really hard for you to understand. But anyway, this H1 here has the ID of demo. And then that's where they use this code here to select the element with the ID of demo, which is the H1. And then they use the myElement.style. So they just use this variable, which is storing this element. And they're saying, hey, change the style.color to red. So they're actually changing the styling with JavaScript in here, which you can do. It's not really recommended. You should stick with CSS, but it's fine for this example. So you can... The methods to change the styling, there's .style and then whatever you want to change. Here it's color and red. So we could change this to green if we wanted to, and hit run. And now it's green. Change this to black, and now it's just regular black. And then what we could also do is, you can use you can change any kind of CSS style you want. So just to show you, we can actually do background color, I think it is, in JavaScript. And we can say yellow. Run. And now I changed the background color using selecting this with getElementById. So let's jump in. Let's actually write some real code out together. I just want to show you kind of like a big overview of what we're going to be learning. So let's go ahead and jump into our JavaScript course files. And I'm going to go ahead and make a new file here. And I'll just call it let's actually say element by id.html. And we're gonna actually make this 13 dash. This is lesson 13. And we get our boilerplate code here. And our title will be select element by ID. And put our script tags. And then let's make we'll make like a little blog website So let's say H1, and we'll just say welcome to the blog. Save. And then before we do any more coding, let's go live. And we'll build our page on the side here. We'll watch that get built live. There we go. Okay. So go to H1, and then we'll have some H2s. And I'll just use some lorem ipsum text. So I'll say like lorem 5. And that'll be an blog article heading. And then we'll put a paragraph. And we'll say lorem 200. Okay. And then let me just copy all this down a couple times. 1, 2, 3. There we go. There, now we got like a little news website or something here. And then we can add a little bit of styling to it so it doesn't look super ugly. So let's add like a container class. So I'm going to make a class called .container. And let's say we want the width to be 90%. And we'll give it a max width 1100 pixels. And we'll say margin left auto, margin right auto. And then I'm going to wrap everything in this container. I'll wrap all of our content. There, now it looks like a little blog site that's a little more responsive. And now let's go ahead and we'll put our H1 in an ID. So we'll add one, say ID, and we'll just say main heading. And now let's go select this with JavaScript and change it around a little bit. So let's just say, I guess I'll show you both ways to do it. So you could just say document.getElementById, and then it's parentheses, quotes, and then we can just go up here. I'm just going to copy and paste. Whenever you're adding ID names into this, guys, I recommend copying and pasting your ID names and putting them into your JavaScript so that you make sure you don't have like a typo, because if you have a typo, it's not going to work. And then we can say, just like kind of like the other example, .style, .color. We could say equals green, and that'll change it to green. Okay. So we selected the element without using a variable. It's better to store, again, each element that you're going to be selecting in a variable so that you can use it multiple times if you want, whatever project you're building, and it's more organized code. So let's actually put this into a variable. Let's say const, and we can say main heading equals, and then we can bring all this down to the next line. So actually, let's just get rid of this for now. I'm just going to cut that. And then let's console.log this out. So let's say console.log main heading and save. And let's right click and go to inspect. Go to console. And I just want to demonstrate to you that this is a good practice to do when you're selecting elements to manipulate from the DOM using IDs or whatever else. Check your code as you go to make sure that you're actually selecting what you want. You don't have a typo. So we know that we're doing good here because we console.log this, and it's showing us in the console like, yep, you're selecting the H1, and it's even highlighting it. So we know we're on the right track. So that's good. And now we can do the same thing again. We can say main heading dot style dot color equals green. Okay. And then if we want, we could say main heading dot style dot color, or we can say background color equals yellow. Okay. And, so on and so forth. So I guess you learned a little bit of how to use CSS with JavaScript too in this lesson. But let's select a couple more elements. So let's grab H2, say ID equals, let's just say heading 2. And then let's go down here. Actually, let's copy this now because we know we're going to need it, right? And then let's just make another variable, say const heading 2. Or say const heading 2. And then we'll say document.getElementById. And we'll paste our heading 2 ID name in there. And now let's console log it and make sure we're selecting it. So console.log heading 2. And there it is. So we are grabbing it. And then we can say heading 2. And we can just delete this, and then we can say heading 2 dot style dot text align equals center. Boom. And now it centered it. So notice how that only moved our first heading 2. We didn't select every heading 2 because we're selecting by ID, and only this one has the ID of heading 2. And you can only do one ID for element anyway, but I'll show you in later lessons how to select like every heading and do that in a later lesson. Let's select this first paragraph here. We can just say ID. We can just say P1. And then we'll go down here. Say const P1 equals document.getElementById. And then we'll paste in P1. And then we'll say P1 dot style dot display equals none. See what that does. Oh my god, it disappeared. So let's go back. Save. It's back. None. Made it disappear. So again, I'm just doing crazy stuff, just showing you guys how to select stuff with IDs. So that's how you can. Fun fact: that's how you later on. I'll show you how to set it up so that when you click something, you can make it disappear. And this little code right here is how a lot of times, if you go to websites with a bunch of ads that pop up, or a website that has a pop up for an email, and there's an X in the corner. When you click X, it's going to be using JavaScript, usually connected to what's called an event listener. And then it'll have a function that says, hey, run some code like this, where you're setting the display to none so it disappears. Okay, something like that. And they could even be using document.getElementById to select whatever element that is, and usually that's the case. So let's just let's do background again. Say background color purple. And then let's copy this down. And let's just say color. And we'll have it be orange. Purple and orange go together, right? So, that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, there's not too much to this. Again, you're just, if you want, what you should be doing, you should be putting your stuff in a variable and then having it equal document.getElementById, putting matching whatever element you want to select with its ID name. You just put the ID name in here and then do what you want with it. For this example, teaching you guys, I just did a bunch of CSS styling with JavaScript just to, show you some cool stuff. But, there's many other things that you can do with it. Once you select it, you can add an event listener. you can do a bunch. You can do, algorithms and equations and whatever else you want to do with whatever element you select. And we'll get into that in later lessons. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Hopefully this taught you how to select stuff by IDs, and I will see you in the next one.